and welcome to Behind the Lines. I'm Diane Dayton. Today, this is going to be a really interesting show. We have jazz musician meets paranormal investigator. It's great to have Eric Mintel with us. Thanks for being here, Eric.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
yes,
so
that's quite a title.
It is, and it's quite an interesting combo. So 30 years as a jazz musician.
30 years, 1993. As a matter of fact, this month, November 12th, was my very first concert in 1993. And, Dave Brubeck was my mentor in music, and I found him at a very, very young age. So 30 years already. And I'm only 29, so I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, how did that happen, right? So the other thing that you're doing now, too, and this is, I guess, since 2016, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, paranormal investigation. But how on earth did you start doing that?
Well, I've always loved the paranormal, and everybody knows me as a jazz guy, but I've always loved the paranormal from a very, very young age, probably, since I've been 8, 9 years old. We lived down in Bucks County, and so Bucks County has a rich history of all kinds of ghost stories and ties to the Underground Railroad and just so much great history, as do a lot of the places around the country that we investigate. And what always boggles my mind is that people have no clue what's in their own backyard. So we're telling those stories, and we're covering it all. Diane, we're covering ghosts, Bigfoot, UFOs, dogman sightings, which we've had an encounter with, and everything else under the sun, paranormal-wise. So, and at the end of the day, I look at it and say, people are seeing something, even if I go into it a little on the skeptical side.
Yeah.
There are people that are seeing something, and I mean, the stories and the things that we've encountered and caught on video, blows me away.
Well, you have your own UFO story, right?
Yeah. Well, always love UFOs too, and my father had sightings back in the day, and this was actually in February of 2016. My girlfriend and I were going over this bridge outside of New Hope. It's called the Center Bridge. There's a restaurant, and there's a bridge that goes over into Stockton, New Jersey. Great little town. So we're going over the bridge, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see 5 orange orbs just appeared out of nowhere. And she sees it, and to me, it looked like swirling lava over the river. And I'm looking, and in my rational mind, within this 5-10 second period that this happened, I'm like, well, could they be Chinese lanterns? Maybe there's a wedding going on over at the restaurant. Maybe they just set some lanterns off. Well, no, it was a Wednesday night. It was cold. It was February. Nobody's getting married, and the place was closed. Anyway, we're looking at this, and all of a sudden, it looked like they did a search pattern over the river, and then one by one, they just disappeared. And I was able to get one shot on my camera, which was amazing. And I still have no idea. We're still wrapping our heads around what it could have been. And it was just very, very strange. No sound, and it wasn't drones. It couldn't have been flares or anything like that. And it definitely was not helicopters or anything. It was silent. And now we just did a huge UFO video called UFOs over Bucks County, because at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, people were sending me drawings and video of what they're seeing, this brightly lit object, multiple lights hovering very low, and we just released that video called UFOs over Bucks County, and it's amazing what people caught on video, and we're looking into that now too, and doing more with it.
Well, I think you originally started out doing things in Bucks County, but you do it all over the country, isn't that right?
Yeah, we travel all over the place. We've been out to Elkhorn, Wisconsin. We were up in Manchester, Connecticut. So all over the place. In Wisconsin, one of our fans and friends, Ellen Collins, she loves what we do, and she had said to me, we ought to do a video on the Beast of Bray Road. And I said, that would be phenomenal. I would love to do that. I had heard about this, but I didn't really put too much into it. I said, well, we got 2 things. How are we going to get out there, and who's going to pay for it? She wound up paying the whole freight for us to go out there. So we're ever indebted to her for this awesome documentary. So we get out there, and this was October of 2021, and we're going out there, and I'm thinking to myself, we're going to get a great documentary. We're going to talk to some great people, never thinking once that we'd ever encounter this thing, which is the Beast of Bray Road is supposed to be an upright canine, dogman, werewolf type creature. But we did on the night of October 3rd, 2021. I will never forget it. It was me, Dominic Sattel, my spirit medium, completely out of his wheelhouse. Ellen Collins was there and her son Scott. So it was just the four of us. If you could picture this, we were in a 35-acre hayfield on the farm of Lee Hampel. Great guy who's got thousands and thousands of pictures and video of this creature and all this phenomena that's going on his property. And we're there, and it's at night, and all of a sudden, we hear this howl that it was the most craziest thing. We heard one very far in the distance, then we heard one closer. The third howl, to me, that was really close to us, sounded like a man screaming. And it was this low guttural scream, growl, yell combination. And it was so loud on site, we had little lavalier microphones on.
Right.
It was that loud that it picked it up. We didn't have any high-tech audio, but it was that loud. And we at first were like, what are we hearing? You know, the fear factor was there. It was like, what is this?
Sure.
But I'm like, what are we hearing? And then what got me was we shined the light over to where the howl was coming from, and we see eye shine in the corn going like this, looking at us. Mm-hmm. I said, that was it. We're out of here. Because it was saying, this is its territory. Get out of here. So it was one of the craziest nights. So that stuff happens, I got to tell you. Whenever we go out on an investigation, within 15 to 20 minutes, something happens. And I always blame it on Dominic. I feel like he's the magnet that brings all of these spirits in.
Okay.
So probably good that he didn't show up with me today.
Probably. How did you connect with Dominic?
Well, Dominic, right there, Dominic Sattel and I, we went to high school together.
Okay.
So, and it's funny because we practiced martial arts and stuff when we were younger, and and then he got married, and then 29 years goes by. And he came back into my life through a mutual friend and said, hey, you know what, I might be able to help you out on these investigations. I'm a spirit medium. I'm like, what? You never told me that.
Yeah.
So I never knew that he was a spirit medium. And what a spirit medium does, there's two different things. Spirit mediums, psychic mediums. He sees spirits. He could see those spirits around people. Like if he was looking at you, he might be able to see a spirit around you. I don't have that. I don't go into a lot of these investigations feeling those things that he would feel. But it's amazing because when we do investigations, whether it's a haunted location, we usually do a lot of bed and breakfasts, pubs, restaurants, where there's been a lot of paranormal activity. I'll get a lot of the history from the owner and I'll keep it to myself until we get on site. And it's amazing, he'll go right to those hot spots that all of that activity is taking place.
Wow.
So it's nice to get that on camera.
Yeah, it sure is. So you now do Eric Mintel Investigates. How many shows do you have out? And I guess they're airing on a lot of different channels too,
Well,
right?
thankfully, yes.
Yes, and here.
And thankfully
well,
here
yes.
too. Thank you,
Yes.
Frank and Diane. It's, I think I've got like 100 videos we've done so far. In the last few years, we've really ramped it up a lot. And this season coming up, we've got some really cool videos coming up. We're investigating a haunted vampire museum.
Okay.
So that's coming up pretty soon, which is the owner has over 700 vampire killing kits from the 1700s. And this is something that we don't go into the demonic, we don't go into the evil stuff. You know, I always say if there's a place that's being haunted, that entity liked being there.
Okay.
That's why you see a lot of pubs and restaurants and bed and breakfast that they have that activity, I think, because they liked being there.
Right.
I think, Hollywood wants to make it more evil and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
but we haven't found anything malevolent as far as that goes. But with this vampire museum, I'm not sure what's going to happen.
What's going to happen with it too.
Take it easy. Yeah, we're going to take it slow.
So really, your approach to what you do, how would you encapsulate that?
Well, we try to find places that have a great history. So what I love is the storytelling. It's not just about the ghosts and about the paranormal. We have so many wonderful venues that have some incredible history, family history. I just met with a client whose family, this restaurant was in their family for 97 years. Wow. So it's really cool to have those stories. And a lot of these things history is going by the wayside, and again, we're telling these stories where what people could do, where they can go, and people love those paranormal experiences. They want to experience that. And that's why we were thriving during the pandemic, because the idea was once these places open up, these people are going to want to go out and experience these things. So it's so we approach it that way. We approach it where we basically we talk to our owners and kind of get a sense of what they're trying to achieve, and we want to tell their story.
Yeah.
And then what we do is events for those places as well. And I'll tell you, we just did one for a restaurant nearby us. Mm-hmm. It was packed to the rafters, and they loved it, and it was just a lot of fun. So those things are, that's the icing on the cake, so to speak.
Okay.
But, going into these investigations, it's nothing to be taken lightly either. I mean, this is something that not a lot of people can do. Mm-hmm. I happen to have an outlet that I can do it, and approach it in a truth-based investigation. That's what our motto is: truth-based investigating. We don't use REM pods. We don't use spirit boxes where you see that people are using, because a lot of times they're going to give you a false reading on what's there.
Right.
So it's a very interesting. Job that I've created beyond jazz.
Yes. So anyway, jazz musician. He's played at the White House, and he also has a story about a guardian angel, and we'll find out both of those when we return. Stay with us.
You're watching Lancaster Community TV, LCTV 66.
Welcome back to Behind the Lines. We're talking to Eric Mintel, jazz musician, and also a paranormal investigator. Yeah, those two combinations.
Who knew?
Who knew, right? So over 30 years as a professional jazz musician, and you've even played at the White House.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, we did.
Tell us about that.
Well, twice. In 1998, I wanted to take jazz to another level. Being that Dave Brubeck was my mentor in jazz, I always wanted to, how could we reach more people through jazz? So I decided, well, I'm just going to write to the top. Let me call the White House. And I called, and they said, well, you might want to direct your call to the social secretary. So I did, and her name was Danielle Westfall at the time. And I basically sent in, I didn't even talk to anybody. I sent in a mailing packet of loose press clippings I had at the time and a CD we had just finished. And I put that into the mail, not thinking anything.
Right.
And this was October of 1998. And about 2 weeks later, I get a call on my machine. It says, hi, we'd like to invite the Eric Mintel Quartet to the White House for Christmas. And it's a party for friends and foes of the president. And it was like a day after the Monica Lewinsky thing happened. It was in December, and then I think a day before, like, something happened in Iraq or something like that. But yeah, we got a chance to perform there, and this was December 14th of 1998, I think. And got a chance to meet the president. And I said, we were taken into the diplomatic room of the White House, and the Marine Guard takes you down there, and we went in there, and Mr. President, Eric Mintel Quartet, and he comes in. And Clinton was pretty tall. I didn't realize how tall he was.
Yeah.
So he was very tall. And he came over, and I shook his hand. I said, Mr. President, you and I have a mutual friend in Dave Brubeck. And he goes, Dave Brubeck, I just gave him the National Medal of the Arts Award. And for people that also know Dave Brubeck's Blue Rondo a la Turk, he also said that Dave said I was the only elected official that could hum the bridge to Blue Rondo a la Turk.
Oh, wow.
And then fast forward 13 years later, my girlfriend said, you should try the White House. And I said, that was just a once-in-a-lifetime thing. There's no way I'm going to be able to get in there again. She's like, just give it a try. Just call.
Yeah.
I said, okay. And I had the phone number in my phone. I called. And again, then they said, what's your availability for December? So it was another holiday.
Yeah.
And we got a chance to play for Obama, and it was in 2011. And got a chance to meet them again, and it was phenomenal. And I said, Mr. President, you and I have a mutual friend in Dave Brubeck, because I found out that he knew Dave Brubeck. And he said, Dave Brubeck was the very first concert I ever went to see with my father when I was a kid.
Wow.
So it was cool. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Then I felt a big slap on my shoulder as my girlfriend, because Michelle wanted to shake my hand, and I turned around, and we were very, very nice and very jazz-oriented, music-oriented people. So it was great. So and then we've performed at the Kennedy Center 10 times. We performed at a special concert at the UN.
Right.
So all of these things that I want to do with jazz, that's what I've been striving for, to get more jazz into the public mindset.
Which is great.
Yeah.
It's really great.
And it's like the real jazz, good, creative jazz.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been doing. And we've got a great fan base over the years. And even my jazz audiences followed me into the paranormal world, which is really cool.
I bet they do.
Yeah.
So who knows, you may be calling the White House yet for the third time.
I actually am.
I'm not surprised.
Gonna try it again. What the heck?
Okay, so let's talk about the paranormal now. Everybody wants to know about Bigfoot, so you've got a story.
I have a story about Bigfoot, and a couple of stories, but we did an investigation in the New Jersey Pine Barrens, of all places. You know, Bigfoot is not just out in the West Coast. Sightings are all over the country, and especially on the eastern seaboard, believe it or not. So we did an investigation with good friends of mine, but Bigfoot researchers, Eric Spinner, Art Mack. We met up with them actually a week after we got home from the Elkhorn incident. We did our first investigation in 2021, New Jersey Pine Barrens. That night, again, going down there, not thinking anything. We're sitting in base camp in an area called the Bowl, 5 miles into the Pine Barrens, not a soul around, 18,000 square miles of nothing. And we're here in this forest, and the researcher and I think it was Art and Dominic were talking, and all of a sudden we hear this whoop in the background, right, in the woods. Now, I look at those shows a lot of times, and I see these people whooping and hollering, and I have to laugh to myself. I said, is that what they really sound like?
Yeah.
And I'll be darned if that's not what we heard.
Oh, wow.
Then Eric's wife, Heather, she starts answering it, and they're having a conversation back and forth. If you could picture this, pitch black, she's going whoop, and you hear in the background whoop, it was the craziest thing. So this was in 2021. Now, fast forward to September 2nd of this year, and I just released this video. It's called On the Watch for Squatch Part 2. And we had an encounter on the 2nd of September. And this time, though, we're sitting in base camp, and just like we are here talking, and Art, he's been going through some cancer treatments, and Art it says, I don't know if it's because of the cancer meds that I'm taking, but my heart is really starting to race right now. With that, I hear a branch crack behind us, and our camera person and myself whipped around and look over, and we see a branch going like this, like something just hit it.
Right.
Then I saw 2 yellow eyes about 7 feet up, and then disappeared. And then we hear something jumping down into the swamp. So we're going back into the swamp area, and I could not believe it. And so we were able to get it on video.
Oh, good.
And we saw it. We got a little bit of the eye shine. We definitely saw the branch. So if people could check that out, it's phenomenal. I think I might have sent that to you guys, but I'm not sure. But I think I did.
Okay.
And then right after that, Heather decides to do another whoop, to see if we can get any kind of. But this time we didn't get whoops back. We got screams. There was something out there screaming back at us. So it was the craziest thing. But what was even more crazy was there was four guys in a pickup truck came in, and they're going, "Hey, what are you doing?" and they're going, "We're searching for the Jersey Devil." Anyway, they were looking for 4 dirt bikers, I guess, that were messing with them. But they split. And I said, Dominic, I said, "Oh, let's get out of here."
Yeah.
So we're in the Pine Barrens. You never know. Well, I said, "Let's get out of here."
Yeah.
But so it was amazing stuff. And this stuff happens all the time.
It does, and that's what your show is all about.
Yeah.
You have a guardian angel story.
I do. Wow, in 1997, and I remember it like it was yesterday, going to a gig, driving to a gig, as all musicians can identify with, running late for the gig. And this is February. It's dark because it's getting dark early. It's 6 o'clock-ish, and it's pretty much dark out. Anyway, I'm coming down this road called Pineville Road up by us, and I'm going at a pretty good clip. All of a sudden, a deer runs out in front of me, bam, and I hit it. And I felt terrible. And here I hit it, and we're sliding 50 feet. All of a sudden, I get out of the car and sliding, and I'm looking at this deer. I'm like, oh my God, I feel so terrible. And all of a sudden, in the woods behind me, I hear a woman's voice say, "How's your hands?" Now, I'm a piano player.
Yes.
How's your hands? I turn around, and when somebody, like in the light here, if someone was standing in bright lights, you can't really see
right.
I saw the silhouette of a woman. She takes this 200-pound deer at least, drags it by the ear like it's nothing, off the road, and says, "You better get in your car, get off the road." I got in my car, gone, and she was gone. Went back the next day, to see if maybe there was a house back there, or maybe it was a person.
Right.
No one there. Nothing, no houses. There's houses now since it's been, they built a couple of houses. But back then, nothing was there. And I will never forget that. It was the wildest thing. So I think I look at it as my guardian angel story, trying to protect me.
Yeah. Well, you do have stories, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
Oh,
if
yeah.
we want to find out these stories, obviously, you have various ways we can connect with you. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. People could look on Facebook, Eric Mintel Investigates, on YouTube, also at Eric Mintel Investigates, Instagram, the usual social media outlets. They could also find us right here at the station.
Yes.
And then a lot of different cable stations, cable outlets throughout the U.S. And so, yeah, and always telling stories. We've got a new season coming up now, which will blow everybody away.
Okay.
But
So
I
this-
encourage people to check the ones we've got
This
out.
is in 2023 and, yeah.
2024 coming up,
Now
yeah.
2024. Okay.
Yep.
And if we want to find out more about gigs, where you are or how to get you
Yeah,
to play.
ericmintelquartet.com. We're all over the place. We've got a huge schedule coming up this year. We're actually, if people are out in this area, I don't know when this is going to be coming out, but we're going to be at the Hershey, at the Inglewood in Hershey on November 24th, pretty soon. We usually do our Charlie Brown jazz concerts. So paranormal half of the year, Charlie Brown the next.
Well, talk about balance, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we've got a very busy schedule. We're going up to New England, and keeping a pretty active playing schedule as well.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Because I think you have an interesting story to tell and more to tell as everything continues.
Oh yeah, more is coming for sure.
More is coming for sure, and you can always catch it here on LCTV 66. So thanks for coming in, Eric, and thank you for joining us today, too. I'm Diane Dayton with Behind the Lines, reminding you to look behind the lines. You might be surprised what you find.